All right, get Revelation chapter 13 in one hand, and get Daniel chapter 7 in the other. Now, my teaching on this varies a good bit from the standard teaching of Larkin, Schofield, Pembroke, Line, Lindsay, and Pierpont. But at times, those fellows did attack the King James Bible in various places, which I don't. So there's always a chance that if you leave the book alone, the Lord can show you something He wouldn't show you if you mess with it. And here's how these fellows teach it. Keep Daniel 7 in one hand, Revelation 13 in the other. This has to do with why I said that the last language on this earth would be English. All right, in Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream of an image. And he calls in Daniel to interpret the image. And as you know, Daniel interprets the image. And when Daniel interprets the image and talks about the history of the image, Daniel says this. Daniel says, that head is Babylon. And he says those arms are Media Persia. And notice one arm is Media, the other arm is Persia. You get down the belly and thighs, and stuck down here, he said this is Greece. And when you get down to the legs, he says that's Rome. And then he says when you get down here the feet, you've got a combination of clay and iron mixed together. And he said when you get down there, you've got 10 toes sticking out of here. And he said when Jesus Christ comes back like a crushing stone, He'll land on those toes and tear those toes to pieces. Now when you get to Daniel chapter 7, you have vision of the world kingdom as beasts. And here's what it says. It says, Daniel chapter 7, verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the earth, diverse one from another. And the first beast was like a lion. Well, there's a lion. Then he says, verse 5, the second beast was like a bear. Then he says the third beast, verse 6, was like a leopard. Then the fourth beast he has no name for. He just says, verse 7, a dreadful, terrible, strong beast. Down here. Now, you know what's so instructive about those beasts? The fact they're all found in Revelation 13. Now, to go to Revelation chapter 13, you'll find all 3 of them showing up again. And this time they make a composite beast that has no name. He's the final kingdom on this earth, as a matter of fact. Revelation 13. Revelation 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, 1. And his feet as the feet of a bear, 2. And his mouth the mouth of a lion, 3. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And that fourth beast here is a combination of those 3. And that fourth beast is the Antichrist. Read about that fourth beast. Look at verse 1. Upon his head were 7 heads, 13 ones, 7 head, and 10 horns. See 10 horns? Now notice that real carefully. That final beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, that beast has to match this kingdom. That kingdom has 10 toes, and that beast has 10 horns. Now, if you doubt in your mind about it, go back to Daniel chapter 7 and look at verse 7. If plain word of Schofield and those fellows didn't match them up right. They never could get them matched up right. Daniel 7:7. After this I beheld the night vision, and behold a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And had great iron teeth that devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue of the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. There's no doubt about it. But if that beast there matches down here, that one doesn't match the head. Although Schofield Notes says it does. Schofield Notes says the lion represents Babylon, the bear represents Media Persia, Greece represents the leopard. That won't work. That's all out of whack there. I mean, what does this one represent? It doesn't represent Rome, it represents this one down here. That means if Schofield and that bunch had gotten that thing right, and they didn't. If they got the thing right, they'd have known the lion matched there, the bear matched there, the leopard matched there, and the Antichrist matched there. They're one off all the way down. Now, how'd they get one off? Daniel 7, verse 1, we'll find out. Now, all the prophetic books teach the same thing, and they're all just as wrong as they can be. And I'll show you why. Daniel 7:1. Now read it now. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream. First year of who? First year of who? Belshazzar. You know what happened to Belshazzar? He got killed. He sure did. When the night he got killed, the Medes and Persians came in and took over. Look in that place where you're reading right there, and look in Daniel chapter 5, and look at Daniel 5, verse 30 and 31. Daniel 5, 30 and 31. It's absolutely essential you get this. Daniel 5, 30 and 31. In that night was Belshazzar slain, and who took over? Verse 31. Darius. There's the Medes taking over, the Median. Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar was the last kingdom, the last king that Babylon had. Now, Daniel had his dream in the last year of Belshazzar. And look what he said. Verse 17. These great beasts which are four, watch it, are four kings which shall arise. Future. You can't match them anywhere in the world. He had that dream there, and the Lord said, these kingdoms are coming after this bird is through. So the lion doesn't match the first kingdom at all. The Schofield note is wrong, Larkin is wrong, Pember is wrong, Gabeline is wrong, Lind is wrong, Kierbaum is wrong. Old Ruckman thinks he's right, and the only one that's right. Well, that book is right. And when they're off that book, they're off. They're off. They're off. I mean, some of the brethren, I love them, but it's like a girl said one time, a little girl 6 years old, her mother said, how do you like your new baby brother, who was about 2 months old? And she said, well, I like him, but his head's on loose. And some of the brethren, I like them, but their head's on loose. Now, there's a case, see, where the Bible says one thing and they say something else. Who's right? The Bible. Always right. And people, like I said, they get me wrong on this thing. I'm not rabid. It's just that I believe the book. I appreciate C.I. Schofield. I think he's a great man. He was a Confederate cavalry officer, wore the Congressional Medal of Honor, the equivalent to it, in the Confederate Cross in the Civil War. And then he became Attorney General for Kansas after the Civil War. And he was about 40 years old when he got saved. He was a soft, drunken, chronic alcoholic, although a brave man. And he got led to Christ, and he put out the best reference Bible that's ever been put out. Any question in my mind, it's Schofield Reference Bible, the best you can get. But, where he crosses the book, wrong! So hard to get that across to people. They say, well, he's a good, godly, dedicated. That doesn't. Let me ask you this. Could you trust David with your wife? Was anybody here that thinks David wasn't good and godly? He's more godly than you are. He wrote nearly a third of the Old Testament. I bet the Lord never picked you for that. See how strange people are? They think, well, if the guy's a good, godly, dedicated, spirit-filled soul winning, he can correct the Bible. I say he can't. I'm a dirty name, but they'll stand up and say, you're wrong. I could care less, man. If I had Charlie Fuller and Dr. Hahn, Theodore Epson, Bob Jones, Senior, Junior, Bob Jones the second, 3, 4, 5.5, 6, 7, Lee Robertson, John R. Rice, Jack Van Impe, Billy Graham sitting here, and came across a play like that, I'd say, you're wrong. If that their faculties with them, you're twice as wrong. Amen. I mean, where the book says one thing and they say something else, they're wrong. That's all there is to it. Never been anything else. I mean, I love the brethren, appreciate the brethren. I think Hal's got a good work going. I'm sure he led a lot of people to Christ. Thank God for him. I even like Billy Graham. I'm not as narrow-minded as some folks think I am. I mean, you don't hear me spend a lot of time cussing Billy Graham out. You never have. So many people act like you're the worst sinner that ever lived. I don't believe that. I don't believe he's the biggest compromise. I think a lot of people compromise a lot more than Billy Graham. Yeah. I've never heard him say something that's too much wrong. I've heard him not say some things he should have said. That's his problem. His problem is close lip. But you take some things he says, I've analyzed them real carefully, and they're ambiguous. You could take them either way, but it isn't as bad as it looks. And you take that bunch right there, I have no argument with it. My argument is when they cross the book, they're wrong. I don't know why they keep messing with that book. They see that book. That book got me out of hell and got me into heaven, and got me a home and got me a ministry and put clothes in my back and took the cigarettes and cigars and whiskey out of my mouth. And why should I mess with it? Yeah, amen. And obviously it's got more power than anybody tried to help me. All right, now, if you're going to match these things up like this, and I match them up like this, I say this. I say the lion is Media-Persia, the bear is Greece, the leopard is Rome, and this is the Antichrist down here. Back in the book of Job, he's given a name. He's called Behemoth. That thing's a Hebrew plural. That thing right there. That thing looks like that in the group. That's a hole and a tile sitting there. And that isn't the word for animals. That's the word for animals. There's an animal in Job chapter 40 who is animals. He's three animals put together. He's a lion, a bear, and a leopard. It's the Antichrist. Now, if you teach it like that, then all you have in the Old Testament is just a picture of the kingdoms who would precede Christ, and then you have a gap here, and the Antichrist showing up here. There's a gap in there, obviously. Because when Rome is finished, there's a gap here, the church age in here, before the Antichrist sets up the 10 federated kingdom. But, suppose they were consecutive. All right, in that case, let's look at Daniel 7, verse 1. Daniel 7, verse 1. Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and vision of his head upon his bed. He wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Now watch it. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold the four winds of heaven. Now everywhere in that Bible, nighttime is the first of the second advent. Every time you pick it up, there's the first advent there, and there's the second advent sitting over there, when Christ comes to the throne of David. And that period is nighttime every time you pick up your Bible. For example, Malachi chapter 4. Unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, S-U-N, arise with healing in his wings. For example, Matthew 13:43, then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun that came from their Father. For example, Psalm chapter 19, the sun is as a bridegroom coming forth from his chamber and rejoicing as a strong man to win a race. For example, for the time, the season, brethren, I need to write to you for yourselves, though the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night, but that you're not of the night, that day won't overtake you as a thief. You're all children of the day. We're not children of the night, or the daytime. Everywhere it's spoken. Look here. Ye are the light of the world. You're shining in a dark place. Until the day star rise, and the day dawn, the day star rise in your heart. Every place in that book, that dispensation from there to there is nighttime. Behold, I come as a thief in the night. That business. If the watchman known what time the thief would have come, he'd have watched, not suffered his house to be broken into. Watch therefore. You know why your Lord may come. Whether he comes in the evening or midnight or cock crowing in the morning. Well, I say to you, I say unto all, watch. Every time that thing shows up, it's listed like that. Now, if you make that consecutive, you know what you got? You've got Rome right there. And they're the ones that crucified Jesus Christ. And after Rome gets through, you got a lion showing up. And when that lion gets through, you got a bear showing up. And when that bear gets through, you got a leopard showing up. And when that leopard gets through, you got old 666 showing up at the end. In other words, it's highly possible those kingdoms could be church age kingdoms. Because of the night time is the church age. So what I do is I make them consecutive. And I have the kingdom of this world run this way. I have them run Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, Rome, England, Russia, the United States, and the Antichrist. Now, it could be wrong, but if that thing's right, let's go to Revelation 13. If that thing is right, then you'll know why I said it'd have to be English and an English Bible. Revelation 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard. Now, what's a leopard look like? He's yellow-brown, like an Asiatic. And he has a white stomach, like a European. And he has black spots all over, like an African. He's integrated. Put a tiger in your tank. A tiger is yellow-brown, like an Asiatic. He has a white stomach, like a European, and he has black stripes all over. He's integrated. He's a melting pot. That's what a leopard is. The beast was like a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear. He walks like a comet. But he's got a mouth like a lion. He's an English-speaking beast. A mouth. A mouth's a lion mouth. Now, maybe that thing is off, but I'll tell you some strange things about that setup, if you call that setup. If you make that lion a type of England, then you've got Media Persia as a type of England. And I'll tell you the strangest thing you ever heard in your life. I mean, Lindsay and Carebon couldn't find the bowling ball in a bathtub when it comes to that stuff. You know who it was that sent the Jews back to their land, to rebuild their land? 2 Chronicles. It was Cyrus, king of Persia. You know who sent them back to rebuild their land in 1918? It was the king of England. They've only been authorized by a monarch 2 times to go back and rebuild, and one time was there, and the other time was there. Now I'll tell you something else strange about that thing. That coat of arms of England is a lion. It's even stranger than that. Pick up Daniel 7. It goes beyond that. Daniel 7, verse 4. The thing's got wings. You know what they call that? They call it a griffin. And that's the coat of arms of the English people. It's a lion with wings. That's called a griffin. That thing stands. And it ceases to be a beast. It becomes just a man. Goes to pot. Now, look at that list in Daniel 7, verse 4, 5, and 6. And notice those beasts don't fight each other. They just succeed each other. The Schofield note says, well, what appears to man as the glory of man, God looks at as a ravening animal, fighting each other. Those animals don't fight. You never read one thing that fast about those animals fighting each other. One of them comes along, and the other one comes along, and the other one comes along. All right, now, that might be accident, what I just showed you, but now we've got more problems. You see that thing there? Daniel chapter 7, verse 5, I saw another beast like a bear. It raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said, arise, devour much flesh. If that's a communist Russian bear, isn't it strange? The Russian alphabet comes from the Greek alphabet, and Russia was Greek Orthodox until the Revolution. So right out of Greece. The state religion of Russia was Greek Orthodox for 1,500 years. Now, if that's true, it puts us in rough shape. Because it means that the type of the United States is wrong. That's what that means. And that's what the old Papa was doing over here. And that means that England will be a world power as she goes down the tube, and she's already gone. England today is a 5th-rate world power. Russia, the United States, West Germany, and Japan are all more powerful countries than England. England was once the 1st-rate world power. It's number 5, or maybe even number 6, going down the tube. You got that to deal with. Now, I don't know how that thing's going to come out. But if I've got the thing laid out right, the United States is going to survive, and Russia's not. But the United States is not going to fight Russia if that thing's right. If that thing's right, Russia's going to get wiped out some other way. The United States isn't going to have anything to do with it. And I would say there, in that case, that Weber and Vernon McGee and Kirban and the rest of them, after having read their Schofield notes, may be on the right track. I mean, after all, Schofield in 1909, Locke in 1929 taught that Russia would attack Israel. And when they attack Israel, they'd get wiped out. Ezekiel chapter 38, Ezekiel chapter 39. In which case, we'd be on the top. Just one catch. That's the catch. Czechoslovakia back, Hungary, Germany, France, or got France, and Spain, Italy, the whole thing. And then that would develop into the kingdom of the Antichrist, 666. So I teach that the Antichrist kingdom operates or moves like communism, a bear, that it speaks like an Englishman, the English language, the universal language, and that it heads up into a kingdom of the Antichrist, which is likened to a spotted leopard. All right, something else. Nothing like a Bible to clear up a college education.